Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is the 11th of February 2025. Wow. We have a few things that we can discuss this evening. Um, I had to have a little chat to myself before I got onto this live to make it, um, will do my utmost to be grounded in a vicinity of a shade of grey because not just myself, but many others have, spoken about this year, okay, 2025. It's a massive choice point to determine really where we go, more so on an individual level than on a collective choice level. Because if you, or we, I should say, if we were to look at the multifaceted and multi-dimensional playing field, is that there is not a domain of thinking or thought at the moment that um, isn't in some type of schism, and it is a lot of zealotry behavior from dancing on the checkerboard. Now, the town square has operated by programs, beliefs, and perceptions, has for many years now, and particularly that our mind is hardwired to digital thinking. And that has been in place since we all started spending more than half an hour of a day utilizing this technology, which is, a blue light spectrum. We could almost say lunar, where opinions and feelings are first and foremost, and we speak more so with emotionalism, and logic and reason has been out the window for a long time, which that's a whole other conversation, which I'm not going to get into tonight. What I am going to get into just straight off the bat and be direct with you is that, do you understand that you are in a war? This is not a war of bullets. Yeah, it is a perception war, a shadow war, almost a fifth generation warfare type setting. And within that, the battleground has been this. And right now, the Skinner box games are what is driving a whole range of craziness, but it is what is needed. I done a video last year and spoke about, silent truths really breaking through. And that is fantastic. It brings conversations to the table, but it also brings a whole heap of craziness with it. And, that's a key element of the psychological fallout. With what we're seeing with, Trump acting as king almost with executive orders and, really speeding the game up. This is not new. This has been known for a long period of time. It is almost an amplification of the theatre to create a huge amount of talking points, gain really where the public consensus is at on, let's say, both sides, because it's clearly defined now that there are two sides of this really going at it for control. And within that, we're really starting to see these schisms really begin to break. And it's now becoming my team win or lose, which is fine. That's, once again, it's conversations to the forefront. But I suppose we all have a choice, okay, choice point in this. Is it going to be still my opinions, my feelings, yelling and screaming into an echo chamber of a Skinner box inside a blue light paradigm, yeah, that our minds are wired to, that gives us this illusionary perception of we're actually fighting something when we're not? Or do you know what you know and are able to action in an accordance of that in the real world, the solar environment of action? This is a very big game, both internally, you can say externally, but also the collective choices. Because if you were just to have a look at your social media feed and the echo chambers that you are in, it's essentially more of a confirmation bias. And anybody that challenges one worldview, boom, yeah, there's a reactionary component to that. And getting into frames, I've done my homework on this. In relation to frames, is it's very easy to identify now where somebody really is at through their own programs, beliefs, and perceptions. And what I mean by that is that if somebody, their first response to something is telling you why they are bad, and all the rest of the other hoo-ha that goes with it, well, there's not even a grain of salt to take what they're saying with. Whereas someone who is more balanced is going to have more of a deeper understanding of someone and something. If we're caught in opinions and feelings like my opinion, my feeling, is that anybody who challenges us or they say one thing that we don't like, automatically the programs, beliefs, and perceptions that we've all been playing in for a long period of time, yeah, is that they're a narcissist, they're a this, they're a that. And we'll almost make up stories that necessarily aren't true to validate why I need them as an adversary. This is a huge component of the battlefield of the psychological fallout. Now, you've got a choice to continue to participate in that and actually ask some questions. It's very easy, particularly over the last 5 years, to grab something that is repeated consistently, that feels good, sounds good, and then we will then regurgitate that as a new form of truth, particularly with the meme wars and all the rest of it. And if someone does have, let's say, more direct experience on that subject, or even can go deeper into it, well, there is that my opinion, my feeling about this is validated. Anything outside of that, well, you're a this. And the polarization is not going anywhere. So once again, it really is the choices upon what it actually is that you're wanting to do and to action. Because if we were to look at just the theater that is in play, that is engineered, there's a lot of things that have to play themselves out. Now, I'm going to blow some smoke up my backside, is that very early on in the piece in 2020, I spoke about the cricketing nations, and I also spoke about Canada, Australia, New Zealand actually becoming a part of, what would be United States Federation, whatever that turns out to be. Okay, very easy to say that, but I'm not just speaking out of my ass here. Like, I know some serious cats, and there's been some others that have come forward and spoken about that. That's where the end goal is. And everything you're starting to see really break into, utilizing Cliff High's language here, into the materium, is a lot of the deals and stuff have already kind of been finalized. It's really just the mechanisms upon how it plays out. So the UN infrastructure, that's not going to be lasting much longer. It's essentially already done. You see the USA, like there's so many things that a lot of people are still fighting that no longer are in an ascended position to push control. And there is going to be a reshaping of borders around the world. Like, there is massive correction that needs to take place, not just going even further back than World War One, but when you understand history of what happened with World War One and World War Two, you really gain a deeper insight upon a lot of the things that are happening now and the coming rolling events through systems changeover. If you know that, well, you're essentially ahead of the game, yeah, a couple of moves ahead. Are you positioning in accordance to that, or is it just yelling and screaming still in this? And that's a choice, yeah. One of the issues, I was shared this a few years ago, and look, I understood it, but when it starts to play out, you get a better, you get a better insight on it, isn't it? Is that through the psychological operations that have been in place all the way back from MTV, the social media skinner boxes, all of the things, is that I'm going to use The Simpsons for an instance. Okay, so there's been a lot out there about predictive programming with The Simpsons, and someone will pick up on a few things and they think they know it. And then they'll go, oh, see, I know that now. I know predictive programming. I can kind of see it everywhere. It's like, okay, awesome. 2 thumbs up. Great. But can the mind go even further and actually understanding the implementation, the logistics of it, the operations side, and the projects and programs that are actually pushing folks into that, and the other control mechanisms outside of that? So when people go into that, have an experience and the threads go out. So when I'm utilizing The Simpsons for an instance, like, who was the principal at the elementary school? It was Principal Skinner, wasn't it? What was his mother? His mother was essentially a dragon mother. Like, there's a lot of archetypal plays that are inside the systems that are actually issues that we're playing out now. Okay, so is that a predictive programming, or is that something else going on? It is something else going on. Reason why I'm bringing up The Simpsons is because we can get ourselves caught up into a false perception of knowledge that then we will regurgitate without actually really understanding the mechanisms of programs and beliefs that we've actually inserted that have locked us into a perception. And then on the outside of that, all of the other games that are inside the Simpsons, is that there's other Skinner boxes outside of that. So people shoot into different arenas where information will be presented in such a way that you feel good about it. It sounds good, but particularly orchestrated in a way that your mind has been opened and you're looking for that type of information. So you're moving from one box into another, creating another echo chamber and essentially being massaged. That's why, the whole flat earth and Tartaria thing and all the rest of these other projects and programs that have been pushed out through programming, yeah, it can become quite difficult if you don't really understand the logistical nature of it, the programs and projects that are running certain operations. Now, what you're seeing with USAID is you're starting to get a glimpse upon that. How far back does that actually go? And it's quite confronting if you were to really look at that. And then right now, we're at a point now that we see it, we just want to repeat it and regurgitate it to go, see, I was right. But can we go, actually, can I stop for a moment and understand that I'm not immune to it? So how much of that has actually come into my domain of perceiving reality and essentially skewed certain things, whether that be language, the way that I communicate, the way that I debate, the way that I process information purely for a way of confirming what I want to believe rather than following the information to where it leads to and be able to follow that. That's a completely different path because you don't mind having your worldview challenged and entering a conversation in good faith so that you can bounce back and learn. But unfortunately, the echo chambers in the town square has not enabled that. It becomes an emotionalism type of how dare you? You know, my opinions and my feelings, and if you don't validate them, then you're a and it continually goes. You know, and even if someone says one thing, it'll be, I'm just going to discard them, which is, you know, this grand experiment that we're moving into with the psychological fallout stages of it. No one is immune. You know, it's very easy to point out someone else's hypocrisies. Can we point out our own? Just have a look at your content over the last like 3 or 4 weeks within your own newsfeed, and you're going to be able to see something that's not really nice to look at, because how much of it is essentially through a reactive emotional outburst, or needing to be validated upon something. And anybody who pushes or challenges a worldview, why do you hate them? Why do you need to make up a story? You know, it's a very, very big game. Let's speak about the game of blood and thrones. This goes back into ancient times, and it's a very, very big story. There's a lot of innuendo with inside the history, but a lot of that you can see front and center now. Now, I know a lot of folks are still with Israel and Palestine. It is a hot subject, but the reality of where this all moves to is that there's a correction with what happened, you know, with World War One, Balfour agreements, and all the rest of these types of things, falling apart of the Greater Israel Project. The same folks who assisted with creating the Abraham Accords were also the same people that purchased the land for where the third temple is going to be constructed, for the grand finale to play itself out. Is that going to play itself out? Yes. You yelling and screaming in this, do you think that's going to change anything? No. So what game is one actually playing? And you have to really ask this, and I'm saying this to be a smart ass, like, I actually care. You know, I want as many people as possible to be mentally feasible and still have the gusto in them on the other side of this, for when that power vacuum is really evident, that it is filled with those who are of right action and here in their center, you know, in the solar world of action, not just caught up in the lunar blue screen regurgitation, because it's a big game. It's very easy to go, we need to stop AI, we need to stop this, we need to stop that. Okay, if we want to stop it, awesome. But how's about you stop it and stop playing with these things? Or you can't do that. You want to tell everyone else what to do. See what I mean? With the programming that is within inside of us, we feel that we have some authority to continually yell and scream to tell everybody else. But when it comes to our own, we won't even go there. Interesting that. But with this game of blood and thrones, you know, you have a look at the US corporation. Who actually runs that? A lot of people would say deep state. Yeah, okay. Who? It's the Rockefeller family. Yeah? You're watching a civil war really come to a pivotal moment of breaking Frontside. Is there going to be massive change? Yes. Is it going to change the way that you think and that you want? No. Are the deals already done? Yes. That's what the past 4 years was about. The people that you love to hate, have some of them made the right call at the right time? Some of them have. But even those that you have come, and me as well, have come to love to hate, you don't really understand the multifaceted and multi-layered theatrics that is really at play. Like, there's a lot of speculation around a lot of different things. That's great. There's a lot of my team win or lose. There's a lot of my truth this and all the rest of it. Great. This isn't really the time to be wasting your time and energy in a reactive state. This is the time now to really center oneself, get clear in their choices and action in an accordance to them, or it is going to be continually caught up in this washing machine as the psychological fallout really heats up. Like, there is a new domain of knowing that is present. And the name of the game now is speed. Things are just going to continually speed up. The technology, the breaking apart of social contracts, like everything, absolutely everything. I'm not the only one that has been speaking about it. Some others have. It's disappointing that a lot of people like to be prophets after the fact and then shit can everybody with their skew, which is fine. But ultimately, the future is set up for the Mavericks that really have something to bring to the table in a place of solar action. It's unfortunate that Ahab and Jezebel have been ascended to the Townsquare throne with their emotionalism. And that seems to be just continued rinsing talking points that are algorithmically push forward, and that there is beginning to break. Where do you position yourself right now is essentially the choice of the times. Yeah. One of your caught in feel good, sound good confirmation biases, awesome, go and play in that. But there is a grand opportunity that is present, and if you can see it truly upon how it is, well, a whole other perspective is going to open up for you. And that's exciting. Things are going to have to play out the way that they do. That's just the nature of the game. And remember this too, yeah? Everybody wants change. But if things change and it doesn't change the way that they wanted to, they're still upset. Okay. But if there was a conversation that actually took place upon why they want it to change in their viewpoint, or how much of that is actually corrupted by programs, beliefs, and perceptions, and them wanting to have a feeling reaction and validation upon it needs to be this way, without actually really comprehending the multifaceted and multi-layered information that would change certain dynamics upon the thinking. As you can tell, my content moving forward is going to be a lot shorter to really, get into the minutiae and the details of some of this stuff. Whether it's liked or not, it's not the problem. I'll just do that because it's, a part of, my game, so to speak. The speed of the game now, as you can see, it's at breakneck. Every day there's something. And if you were to go, who is actually the booming voice across almost every thought and thinking layer across the earth right now, it is the trumpet of revelations to reveal. Can you understand? That's part of a game as well. And a lot of it is being tested and measured, been spoken about that a lot, is that all of these Skinner boxes are really there is to really gain an understanding of what can be brought out or released next. If you're caught up into the, let's say Netflix series, that's the way that game is set up. There's an anticipation, there is a reactive nature. I'm going to share my opinion and these are my feelings, but how much of that is actually coming from a place of knowing, reason, and logic and able to build it out? Those types of folks have, it's a different conversation that actually happens there. Once again, fascinating times, isn't it? You really got to use your lane. I am going to give you something to think about before I depart for this evening. The Rubicon was crossed a couple of years ago when the media apparatus lost the microphone of the Townsquare, and the independent journalists come forward and the digital soldiers. Fantastic. The conversations from silent truths into the public town square, it's amazing. Okay, whether you want to yell and scream at it, they're wrong, this is wrong, it doesn't matter. We're having the conversations. Okay, that's a big plus, because if we're having the conversations continually move forward until we get to some type of consensus around things. Is there an orchestration around massaging that? There is. Okay, it is what it is. You can be pissed about that or not, but that's the name of the game. That is the name of the game. But with the Rubicon being crossed with the media, that there enabled the, let's say, the breaking apart of the social contracts. And that there has to do with education, that has to do with medical, Hollywood, and like every single one. Now, if we're all wanting change, what are you seeing happen right now? You're seeing the breaking apart of those social contracts because they were fraudulent to begin with this hidden power, so to speak. Are you going to move into those new domains of knowing and bring something to the table? Or are you going to sit on the fence with opinions and feelings about things and yell and scream in the Skinner box of a blue screen lunar vortex? Here are those choices, yeah? AI is not going anywhere. And one of the choice points is how you actually choose to interact with that. Are you interacting with that purely more so to engage yourself more into the digital realm and become more tied to blue light technology into a lunar frame where everything is transactional, because the digital dopamine, the biochemistry, the way that you're wired emotionally and through validation, are you going to choose that path? Because here's the unfortunate thing. I've watched so many truthers and spiritual people speak about AI and transhumanism and all the rest of these things, but every choice that they are making right now is purely in that direction. When it comes in the logos of the solar world of action, well, here is really the choice. I'm super excited because I've been waiting fucking years for the technology to get to a point where I can bridge between not just one era and another, but with the technology that is in a blue light spectrum, can I utilize that and into a red light spectrum and make things a lot easier? Because the world in a red light realm has been under the weight of these cults and covens that have manipulated it into a very particular way. The control structures of that, like the Green New Deal, all the rest of those things, that red tape is essentially breaking apart. It's exciting. There's a lot of conversations to be had. There's a lot of problems to solve, but can we get to the minutia of the problem? That's going to take some time. Those conversations need to build out. And yelling and screaming, that's great. But how much of that are you actually working the problem or a part of the problem? And where I'm getting to, something to leave you with, is it's essentially one of these key choice point moments now is what skill set are you actually bringing to the table in the solar world? Okay, the world of action, the world of being, the world of doing, yeah, centered perspective, lower kingdom, middle kingdom, upper kingdom, at least in the same type of resonant tone for you to explore new octaves of awareness. Yeah, open yourself up more psychically. The rules of the natural world actually being more encompassing and you working with them, because your viewpoints, your programs, beliefs, and perceptions upon this is completely different. Because unfortunately, yeah, this is going to hurt, but it's a question everyone needs to be asking. Okay, who is doing your thinking? Okay, really, like, if this is the first time you've heard about Skinner boxes, go have a look at that shit. Social media is set up purely on that. Okay, look what the mafia and the CIA did with blue light technology. Dr. Jack Cruz has gone and spoken about that at length. Like, that there is not just new information, but it is fact. Okay, do you know it? Awesome. Are you actually implying that information into your daily life? If you're not, then to know and not do is to not know. And if you've just taken on information that you think you know and you're not actually able to apply it, it's just information that's running through a frame of reality that is geared towards your confirmation biases, to have your opinions validated and to have your feelings accepted. And if they're not, well, how dare the ego that sits upon the throne that is a pseudo get challenged in that way? Let me lay some bitchcraft. So here we are these choices, which way do you really want to be going about it? And it is very big. There's a responsibility and there's an accountability factor in relation to that. Massive, because let's be very real. The machine is doing our thinking for us. If we're constantly reactive inside the echo chambers of the Skinner boxes that we've found ourselves into through our likes, comments, and shares. Just go on Instagram and have a look at your discovery. It's going to show you what you've kind of been getting into, and how much of that is from a factual sense, or it has come, and I mean this, like the report I read last week is, it's not 100% fact, but let's be conservative. Let's go 75% of the content that you're actually viewing right now is coming from some form of AI. And what I mean by that is that you have people that are creating pages or podcasts or all the rest of that will utilize trending finders to find content to then stick into AI to get it to spit out a script or talking points, and someone will hit record and then speak about it as if they have come into that knowledge through the pathways of an alchemical transmutation, actually stepping into the mental gymnasium, the labyrinth of the mind, looking at things from multiple different perceptions, multiple different perspectives, really wrestling with that for a period of time, having your mind open to that type of information so that you actually own it, understand who is who in the zoo with it. It actually becomes a part of you. But we don't do that. And this is where, choice point is going to be very big, because it really is now just a regurgitation of what's actually going to get us some type of digital dopamine fixation, and the reoccurring or the repeating topics, not really comprehending that a lot of the content creation isn't content creation at all. It all feels good, sounds good. Let me create something someone else got some validation for so that I can speak about it and get people into my Skinner box of attention so that I can essentially tell them what I want them to believe about me. And dare anybody challenge my worldview or what I say about it, well, that's just them and their projection. That's just them and their shadow. That's just them because they don't know this. And that's just them because of that. Okay, great. Once again, here we are at this psychological fallout time. What you choose to do and what information and what knowledge bases that you go into, you will reap the rewards for it. You will understand the game that you're actually playing and understand the rules of it. Do you want to bend those rules to your advantage? Really come into the knowing attribute of mastery, being able to action, or is it still an information of regurgitated information that feels good, sounds good, that then we get into these tribe-like situations, but under the cover of the frame, we're actually not compatible. We almost make up excuses upon, oh, my star sign says this, so that makes us compatible. Really? What about life experience? You know, I'm going to be a smart ass here, and if the ladies want to take offense to it, they can. A woman's intuition is never wrong. That seems to be this gospel kind of truth that's out there. But if that was the case, there wouldn't be as many single mothers and there wouldn't be as many ex-boyfriends as what they actually are on the planet, would there be? Oh, how dare you say that? Well, it's fucking fact, isn't it? So once again, we've got this feel good, sound good kind of echo that's populated out there that people have liked and actually taken on as a mantra. But in the reality of the real world, yeah, the solar domain, it's not true, is it? It's big. Same as empathy. Yeah, I'm highly empathic. Okay. There's a whole heap of new data, new science that's in with that. That's actually showing that, okay, there's something else going on here. You know, when someone is very geared towards that with empathy, they will lead with language of opinion, my opinion, and I feel, to get you to sympathize with them, actually take down your defenses, and dare you challenge them. Well, a whole different conversation begins to come out now, doesn't it? I'm not going to get into that today, but it's conversations that need to be had, because ultimately there's a huge flood of tech, new information, new stuff on social studies. A lot of people don't really want to talk about that at the moment at all. Where we're at a point now where a new domain of knowing is open, okay? And some of the stuff that we've all bought into isn't actual factual. But we populate that because it's a program belief that we've bought into that then allows the story that reanimates itself into the future. And then we have got a little bit too comfortable with Ahab and Jezebel on the throne of the town square, of telling everybody what they want people to believe so that they can get something in a transactional manner for it. It's wild times. It's exciting times. The choice point. Here we go. I just wanted to, last one. I don't need to go there, Grant. I better not anyway. What you're seeing at the moment, okay, with a lot of the exposure, is so that a lot of people that have been sharing stuff for the past 5 years have they feel as if they have some type of win. Okay, they're actually able to point at something. But the conversations are beginning to move a lot faster. And as they do, things are going to break apart at a breakneck speed. And there will be a power vacuum that opens up. Where are you going to position yourself, with that? That's the choice point. That's what this year is really about. We can get caught up into utopias, but let's be very real. And it's unfortunate to say, but I'm being honest with you. The best of ourselves comes out in near-death experiences. Yeah. And the way things are set up in not just the US, but in Europe and a few other places in the world, that's what these rolling events are going to move to. And it's just going to have to play itself out. The name of the game right now is there is that power vacuum. How are you going to play in that? Because if you think you've got it sorted out with that, well, you don't. I'll bring this up. ChatGTP, okay, that has some other things that were orchestrated with that to push us on this path. DeepSeek, supposedly China brought it out. Not 100% true, but anyways. But it just showed the world for $6 million, you can build yourself your own open source AI. How much have ChatGTP or OpenAI spent to get where they're at right now? That's a big game changer. Okay. So technology is going to change things at a speed that we can't even perceive at the moment. Now, even in relation to warfare, like you have a look at, no, we won't go there. I don't want to do people's heads in, but know the game that you're playing and really play to win. Question people's quantum and don't be afraid to challenge worldviews. Poke and prod. See who's who in the zoo. Yeah. Like that's your not just moral responsibility, but that's your responsibility to yourself. No one is immune to the bigger games that are at play. And a lot of the yelling and screaming, there's other things going on with that, the adversary, like who are we without the adversary? Okay. Who are we without it? The actual word translation for Satan is adversary. And I seen something pretty fascinating the other day. And I'll just leave you with this one. If anybody who has studied or read the Lesser Keys of Solomon, you're going to understand there's a lot of sigils in there, particularly when it comes to, you can say demons or demonics or whatever. Okay. There's 72. The original emojis that were put out for computers and phones and all the rest of it was 72. And if you were to have a look at all of those emojis, they correspond to a very specific sigil. So even within a digital landscape, we're still utilizing the adversarial technology, even within our day-to-day thinking. And then by doing so, we're making choices. So we're still needing to play this checkerboard game. Yeah, there's magic battles going on. It's all pretty fantastic. So once again, do we really actually know the game that we're in and what we're choosing to play in. And is that choice coming from habit? Is it coming from awareness? Or is it coming from a reactive nature that is a regurgitation of our own programs, beliefs, and perceptions? It is a very big game now. You get to choose. You also get to choose the skinner boxes that you're in. You get to choose what you're actually aligned with. See where things are set up. So I'll leave you with that. Some things to ponder with. That's great. And then, you will all see me in a different format over the next little period of time as I've been hinting at the last few. Magus Guild ready to go. A few other things that I've been working on for a long period of time. It's been quite humbling to get those things right, particularly with redefining and going back over developmental models. So here we are. What I intended to do from when I first spoke a few weeks before COVID came out up till this point, or even the back end of last year, was always for 2025. And I suppose now for me, where I see my role in all of this, what I've been working towards for well over a decade now, is being a bridge between one era to another, playing in a new domain of knowing, but also there's new octaves of awarenesses that are available to us. And depending upon our resonant tone and our ability to be opened, that's also a choice within itself. Very easy to be just yelling and screaming and be a doomer and gloomer. But if they actually believed what they were saying, would they be on social media, or would they already have their doomsday vault checked out and all the rest of these things? That's what I mean. You really have to look now and be really hyper vigilant upon who you're actually entrusting, that you're selecting who is speaking to you. I'm not saying this to be an asshole, but it's been very easy to do a lot of talking about all of the different things. But do their actions actually back up their beliefs? More times often than not, it's no. And with inside the truther world, which I have huge respect for, like the games that are being played now, it's awesome. But you have to remember, you got a lot of folks that have been ostracized, picked on. The list goes on and on. Some of you had an experience of that on a micro level in 2020. Some people have gone through that for 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years. Their whole identity is shaped around disclosing that information. And now that it is front and center as silent truths, there's some things going on there, because like I can say is that there'd be people there looking at, I brought this forward years ago, but really they just heard it, researched it, and repeat it. Was it actually from knowing or interacting with that? That's another question. But you get to see the skinner boxes that are in. I'll just say this. I love David Icke for what he has done. He deserves statues on the other side of this. But he's caught in that paradigm of what I was just speaking about, and it's unfortunate. Do I reckon and do I think that there'll be some type of, let's say, through the rolling events, will it become very evident that there is actually two opposing forces that are battling it out? Yes. Everyone will be forced to pick a lane. A lot of you have already made those choices, and you're coming into a deeper understanding of what those choices actually mean through your actions, such as the mystical nature of this time. Um, you know, pick a Skinner box, you're going to be able to see it. But, you know, our DNA lengthens through stress. We've been told for the last 10 years to just be more emotionally intelligent, get in touch with your emotions and somatic and all the rest of the other woundology stuff. That's the Ahab and Jezebel emotionalism, which has its place. But how much of that has actually conditioned us to be in a fright or flight reactive emotional response whenever our worldview is challenged, and almost demanding everybody else to do what we want or else. So strong in your center. Stress is the great weapon to open up your DNA. Stress yourself in the mental gymnasium, in the labyrinth of multiple different perspectives and perceptions. Even listening to two people who are almost on opposing sides, and be able to look at it from the frame of what good actually comes out of what they're saying, not, oh, they're bad because I don't agree with this. Like, what lens are you looking at the world through? Is it purely from the adversarial and needing to go after someone to validate your opinion and your feeling? Or is it, you know what? I like what they did with this. Not so much that, but does the good outweigh my perception of it? You're going to find more often than not, yes. And when you're in that frame of reference, there's a lot of other things that open up. It's also going to show you who actually has a higher form of intelligence, not just I'm high vibe and I'm conscious, and I'm actually not conscious of my actions or anything that I do, but I'm an empath, so I feel everything, but I don't need to take accountability for anything. You know, all the rest of this madness is coming to a abrupt end as the pendulum swings in the 1,000 shades of grey. Where are you going to find yourself with that? Absolutely, Dave. I fucking love Ammon. Like, he's an agitator. Once again, yeah, like, be very easy to go what I don't like about him, but he's bringing and pushing the conversation so hard, so forward, that it's enticing you to, like, wow, okay, like, you're in the mental labyrinth, you're learning something new, taking on different perspectives and different interpretations of things that then opens your worldview up to many different things. Like, just utilizing Ammon, for instance, the moment the stuff with Galen about with Marcus Aurelius on the opium, boom, my brain just went pop, because I love meditations from Marcus Aurelius, love it. But then to find out that old mate was fucking opiumed off his head, it just, now I get it. Now I get it. Yeah, I get it. So there's just those little bits of sugar and spice that are on the table. Do you want to eat that, or do you want to keep eating the cupcakes that people are spitting on and telling you it's frosting, and you think it tastes good because it feels good, when in reality it's nothing but a bullshit burger? So I'll leave you legends with that. Exciting times ahead. That's what I mean. You see me in a whole new phase and domain. It's exciting. Been building towards it for a while. And for all of you troopers out there, know your game and play to win. And if you're really honest with yourself, with really where you're at in your own development, you're going to win. But if you've just taken on information and you've repeated it as if you actually think you know it, well, that there is going to be a reckoning that you're going to have to face. Can you see the world as it exactly is in this now moment and make a choice and commit to it particular way, and then try and utilize your power of persuasion with language to get people to do what you want? Once again, the adversarial games at play. Monad, God coming through, or the ego that sits upon the throne that wants to go and tell everybody else what they want them to believe so they can get something from a validation or a transactional sense. It's all self-love, it's all this, it's all blah, 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 rather than it's actually self-respect, that my mind, my words, and my heart are in an accordance of actually speaking action piercing that opens my mind to having more access to a whole new domain of knowing. Exciting time, legends. Peace out.